Hey, I am CrunkChocolate, and welcome to another episode of Represent. You know the vibes by now, content season. Hope you all are enjoying yourselves. Football season is over, and we are breaking bread over here, bringing on a fan of a top 10 team, and we chat football. Shall we get to it? I would like to welcome Dave of Wicked Spursy podcast. How's it going, sir?
Hey, Kronk, I'm great, man. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so where are you in the world? You can keep it pretty general if you want. And how did the pod get together?
Yeah, thanks, man. So I'm located in the state of Vermont, up in New England, northeast corner of the country. For anybody who's not from the U.S., although I'll tell you what, when I moved to Vermont from the Midwest, people asked me, "Hey, what state is Vermont in?" So that kind of gives you a sense of people who used to be geography teachers like me, you know, how well we did our jobs. But anyway, I do the Wicked Spursy podcast. Two of my buddies, Mike and Steve, we got together, connected to one of the supporters groups for Tottenham Hotspur that was based in this area. And we decided we wanted to pod. So we started about 2 seasons ago. We just finished up our second season, and it's been a pretty enjoyable experience. Our audience has been growing, and we've been able to have some cool guests come on and join us and learn a little bit from some folks. So having a good time.
You aren't the only pod that is like measured when they started by seasons. And that's brilliant. But the only problem is we started in February.
You just call that a season, right? You just finished your first season, you know?
We finished our first season.
Right. I mean, think about it. A TV show, they have like their pilot season. It might be a little shorter and the next one's a little longer. So it's still season one.
You could definitely call it
you're good.
Pilot, what we were doing. And this is now like a crossover.
Hey, can I ask you this? Can I ask you this about yours, if you don't mind? You know, we had this experience where we started out really kind of scripted. You know, we kind of plotted everything out. Here's what we're going to talk about. Here's how we're going to do it. And we found that we kind of sucked at doing that. And so over time, we just kind of ditched our script and we make it up as we go. What's that look like for you guys? Do you tend to keep a pretty good structure? Do you keep it free flowing? How does that go on Shades of Blue?
So the way that the pod works is I kind of narrate it. So I do the lead in and start the conversation, and then I let them hop in. So I basically tell them what we're going to talk about, and that's it. I write my script, and then like leading into the question and stuff. And then once dialogue starts from there, then I'm just like freestyling and using notes and stuff that I've taken.
Yeah.
So me, yes. Them, no. I had to allow them the free flow to not like overthink, especially because they're all brand new podcasters. There was no like first practice. The first practice was the first episode.
Yeah. That's fun though, right? You learn as you go.
Yeah, no, and I've truly enjoyed watching them grow, like as personalities, comfortability, like us as friends. Like it's been very nice, because my previous pod, it was just me talking about how fucked the world is, and like that's just a lot. I would much rather be talking about football with the homies any day.
Yeah, no question. And we found, you know, we started obviously middle of the pandemic, and the three of us had never met in person, even though we started podding. So we met through this venue and got to know each other. And now we can make fun of each other, and that's half our pod. Is just kind of banter and ripping into each other. But you know, it was probably a good 9-10 months before we actually sat down and met together in person, but also felt like we knew each other because we'd been interacting like this, and you can still get that done if you focus on the relationship side of it. So that's been good. Hey, maybe you guys can meet up live in person, Champions League final next year, to watch Spurs beat City in the Champions League final. How's that sound?
Man, I feel like I would say that would be the earliest dig of this, but I did a United episode with a friend of mine, and he started 6 minutes before the episode even started the episode. So it's
I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you.
No, I love it, especially because there are a few people I haven't been able to get a hold of, and I understand their apprehension because it's kind of like smug of someone from like City to be like, hey, you want to come on my pod and talk football? And it's just like, but I'm honestly, I really just want to talk football. Like it's all love. Like if it's during the season, I mean, honestly, I would still like to grow the pod and bring you guys on if we end up in big matches, cup matches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because for one, I mean, I'm an American, and I can tell from your accent. At least you've been in America for long enough to sound American, at least.
My whole life. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's like we don't have that birthright hate of teams sometimes. I feel like something like this works a little bit better for us instead of maybe being contemptuous because there's all this like upbringing and knowledge of each other's small cities and ways to talk shit to each other that most of the time just go way over my head.
No question. It's funny you say that. There's a guy I used to work with who's a big time Arsenal fan. He just grew up supporting Arsenal, right? And he and I would talk football, and it's like we should despise each other. Those are the rules. We're not supposed to get along. But yeah, being Americans, being just detached from that. Yeah, we all understand rivalry, right? And we know what that means. The animosity and the venom that could be there, but it's also like, hey, I'm okay with you, man. We can like different teams, and I don't have to like your squad, and you don't have to like mine, but we can still be cool with each other and enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, now, like if it's a cup final or like we're 1-2, and then literally it's up to the last match, get out of my face for this last week.
Fair.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But once that match is over, like, you motherfucker, like we'll be back at it. But like the love for the team is real. I love and respect you. I will murder you for my team.
That is fair.
How did you become a Tottenham fan in the first place?
So huge White Sox fan, and they're my team ever since I was a kid, and good times and bad times. And growing up, Midwestern kid from America, I kind of did the three typical sports, right? Like baseball, basketball, football. Those were the ones you did. But I'm also a huge White Sox fan, and they're my team ever since I was a kid, and good times and bad times. And growing up, Midwestern kid from America, I kind of did the three typical sports, right? Like baseball, basketball, football. Those were the ones you did. That's what you did in school. It's just how it was. So I had a lot of experience playing. I had a lot of experience coaching. With my own kids who are college age now, I thought, they'll do the same things. And they started to make different choices. It's like, okay. You can still have fun and learn good things without doing the same sports your dad did. And that kind of opened up my perspective a little bit. And a few years ago, my work was incredibly stressful and incredibly political. And I decided that I just needed some sort of mental reprieve. So this is about 6 years ago. And I had a kid at the school that I was working at, young kid, one of those fantastic soccer players. His name was Malik. And he was one of those like kids that traveled around and had tryouts with like some of the MLS, youth teams, that type of deal. And I was talking to him because we'd spend time together on occasion. I said, hey, I'm thinking of maybe getting into soccer. I'm thinking Premier League. Is that the right call? And, I figured this 9-year-old will give me good advice. And he's like, yep, you're on the right track. Premier League is the way to go. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I used to be a history teacher. And so then I started like researching. And so to go back to the whole Chicago White Sox thing, I decided I wanted to identify a team that was from a large city. So that removes a lot of options. I wanted somebody that had a natural rival that I could dislike and kind of have that natural tension that exists. Well, N17 has a little bit of that going on with the red and white sides of North London. And I also, being a White Sox fan, you get used to a lot of disappointment, and the sweet times are even sweeter, right? And so I knew that, and this is not to cast judgment on anyone who supports a team that's wildly successful, right? But I knew that a team that was wildly successful, like the Man U clubs of my youth that every other kid, would support, I didn't want to do something like that. I wanted to pick somebody that was kind of on the edge of that and showed potential, because that was the type of team I was drawn to. And crazily enough, this name Tottenham Hotspur started speaking to me. And so I had like done my research and picked my team before I even ever watched a ball get kicked, and decided that's going to be my squad. That's going to be my club. My problem was I didn't know anything about soccer or football. Nothing at all. I did not understand what a touchline was. I didn't understand offsides. I knew football offsides, right? But I didn't understand, world football offside. And so first year or so, I just was trying to learn. Like, I'd see referees make calls, and I didn't understand why they made the call they did or why they didn't make a call. And I just was taking it all in and processing. And over time, have become competent enough and gotten to know my club enough and gotten to know the game enough that I can have a reasonable conversation about it. And I love it. You know what I mean? Had I picked any other team, I'd probably feel the same way about my club that I chose because I love that club. But I'm a Spurs man, and that's how it is. And hopefully one day I'll have like grandkids and I can, raise them up the right way from youth instead of being an adult convert like myself.
Maybe not so now, but when I became a fan, when you became a fan a while ago, to become a Premier League fan was hard. Like having to watch matches, having to like keep up and figure things out. I mean, we still have like the time difference now, but it was like less possible ways to even watch the matches. There was like for years I had to go to this place. It's called Hy-Vee. It's like a grocery store, but some of them have restaurants in them. And one specifically had a bar and a television. And since they had it was a smaller city and they had a lot of third shift workers. So they start serving at 5 a.m. So I can go in for like a 6:30 a.m. match and I'll have like breakfast and a beer because technically it's like noon there. It's 1 there. And so it's like, And so that was how I honestly became a City fan. Like a lot of my City shirts are fucked. They're like letters are coming off because I was young and I had no idea how to like properly, clean them and stuff like that. So I just wash and throw them in the dryer and stuff like that. And they're all stained. All my scarves have like stains in them because I've been at like bars watching them by myself, like just having the best time. And at first I was like embarrassed by the shirts because everyone like loved showing their like nice shiny crisp things, but mine show that I've been through it. I've had these for years. Like these aren't brand new. Like motherfucker,
that's character.
These aren't brand new.
That's
like,
character, man.
Beat up as fuck.
Come on, you could put those on eBay and get a good dollar for them, right? Like people.
I love them. I wouldn't get rid of them. My first City shirt I got was 2012 away company shirt.
Nice.
So that was like my first like City shirt with a name on it. Before that, I got like a basic one. I found one at Marshall's in St. Louis once, and that was like the most amazing thing. I was at a Cardinals game, and I was like, let's go into this Marshall's because why not? And I found some like Packers pencils and a City shirt. I was like, this is the greatest trip ever.
That's fantastic. I read today Vincent Company, Burnley manager. You see that?
Yeah, I'm excited for Company to get the chance, but I'm not really a fan of Burnley.
Yeah, I'd like them to stay down, honestly. If we could stay in the championship, I'd be good with that.
Yeah, so it's like, can he have success without, like, I feel like if he gets them up into the Premier League and maybe has like one more good year after that, he'll go somewhere else. And then I can like truly root for him. But like, at least for 1 year, I won't have to really every single match, it's going to be shared on City stream, City Twitter because they love the man and I love the man. But I don't like Burnley.
I can't understand why at all. Really can't.
Let's get into the 5 question segment of the podcast. First question is, best thing about being a fan of Tottenham?
Best thing about being a fan of Tottenham is learning how to manage your emotions and not getting too high, not getting too low. I think there's some fantastic life lessons in being a Spurs fan. We recorded just last night and I was talking with my guys about, there's right now Spurs are in a good period, right? Spurs are on an upward ascent, we could say. Where's that going to go? Who knows, right? There's a lot of variables that play into where it finishes. But, the building, the climbing towards the peak, that's where the fun is, and I look at a team like City and zero disrespect, man. Like there's an inherent stress in having a team where nearly every player on the squad is world class and you're supposed to win and you're supposed to win everything. Because when that doesn't go well, you know how it feels, right? And the intensity is really, really palpable. So for me, especially right now, there's joy in kind of what feels like a positive era around Spurs. there's a climb towards something. We're going to see where it finishes. Like I said, maybe it's a Champions League and you and I are hanging out somewhere in May or June next year, seeing how it plays out. But I'd love to have it happen.
So the part about City always having to have like the target on their back. Yeah, every single club team that they play is always going to give them their best. And their best doesn't necessarily always mean they're going to come out and come at you. Sometimes that means they're going to put almost everybody behind the ball and just try to not lose to us, because to a lot of teams, that's beating us. And one thing I will always respect about you guys, you motherfuckers run at us. And it's always to the detriment of us.
It's something else, and especially the last few years has been crazy. Yeah,
and you said they do appear to be upward trajectory. Conte is a great manager. You're doing a couple of very money-saving, smart transfer moves. Bissouma, why can I not think of his name? The winger you guys got on for free that you guys are bringing in.
Perisic from Inter. Yes. There's talk about Jed Spence. It sounds like that's approaching the finish line. That kid's a stud. Like we're doing some good work right now and spending that money well.
Yeah, and you have a solid team. So, I mean, you really just need to like fill in parts and find people who want to grind, because like you said, that's kind of your playing style. That's kind of what you're going to have to do anyway to break the Tottenham curse. Is that a thing? Do you feel that that's a thing? Because on our last episode, a real episode of Shades of Blue, we did a like pre-transfer ranking, like basically how we think the season will end before all these transfers happen. And I had Tottenham at 2, and I had multiple people be like, "What are you talking about? Tottenham are not going to do that because they fuck up." And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, eventually they have to break through that, right? So, how do you feel about the Tottenham curse?
I think so. Again, I'm going to go back to my youth and where I'm from, right? The Chicago White Sox supposedly had the curse from throwing the World Series in 1919, and so they didn't win a World Series for like 70 years, right? The Cubs had the curse.
The Black Sox? Is that
yes, exactly. The Black Sox scandal, yeah. The Cubs, they had the alleged Billy Goat curse. The Boston Red Sox, if you know anything about Boston, they had the curse of the Bambino from selling Babe Ruth, right? Like, to me, all those things are real in the minds of fans, but fans aren't on the field or on the pitch playing the game, And I tend to believe that professional athletes are where they are for a reason. We often forget that these guys are at the top of the freaking world when it comes to what they do. And I do think that teams can have lapses in mentality. I think teams that can have lapses in mental strength. And I think we definitely saw that with Spurs, especially as the Mourinho era. Well, no, let's back up. At the end of the Pochettino era, Spurs were broken, right? Like coming off the Champions League, Pochettino was a phenomenal manager, but he'd driven those guys into the ground, and they just hadn't had the time to physically and mental recovery, and they were broken. And that led into Jose Mourinho coming to town and doing what he does, which broke even more guys. And so I think that lack of mental fortitude can kind of get forced onto teams sometimes, but I don't think that there's such a thing as a curse. I think that teams are constructed based on the money that their leadership is willing to spend, based on the plans and the strategies of the managers. And let's be honest, sometimes you either execute or you don't. And in the end, there's always a winner and there's always a loser. And sometimes that comes down to things like money and strategy. And we've been on the wrong side of that at times, but we've been on the right side of that at times. I think if I look at City, you've got easily one of the top 2 or 3 managers in the world. You've got players coming off the bench who are among the best in the world at their positions. By the way, Kevin De Bruyne, love that guy. I'd take him on my team 8 days of the week, no question. Couple other guys that are on City that are talked about to come towards Spurs. I'm not as big a fan of like Gabby Jesus and that type of thing, but I'll take De Bruyne any day. But look at where City is, right? It's the right combination of having the dollars to spend, making the decisions to say, yep, we're going to go for this, having a coach that is incredibly skilled and has good strategy, and you got incredible players. And when you combine all those things together and you keep those guys thinking right and looking ahead in the right ways, good things are going to happen. Your problem with City is there will be times that they're not number one, so they're number two, and that feels like crap. But you also know that there's a cycle to all of that, and it goes up and down, and we've seen that definitely happen across the past 8-10 years. We've seen that cycle in play. Am I throwing too much at you, man? Am I talking City too much?
This is great. No.
All right, cool.
No, this is fantastic. What I was going to say is a lot of Tottenham's success lately has come at City's loss.
Yeah.
And it's to this thing is we see City. We see Tottenham struggle. Perfect example against us. You guys were struggling, and then Kane pulls, prime, exact Harry Kane, and he does that, and you're just like, where did any of this come from? Why are you doing this now?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just because people bring it to City, and I respect that.
But I will say, well, first of all, if we look at the two Spurs City games this year, the opener, how you guys lost to a Nuno Espirito Santo team is beyond me. You're going to have to explain that one. But
let's just move on past that one.
All right, but the second one, right? We were up, you guys came back. It looked like that was City's game to take. But then I'll tell you what, man, I was watching this earlier today. The sequence of how Spurs moved the ball around for about 90 seconds, just the passing was beautiful. Some of our January signings really, really helped us out. And yeah, watching Kulusevski with that cross into Kane for that header opposite corner, it's like, all right, you can't argue with that, man. That was beautiful football, and that was, of course, it was great to be on the positive side of that. And by the way, you're welcome for what we did with Liverpool, because, that helped lock things up for City a little bit, I think, right?
I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm here for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. When Tottenham are playing y'all's football, it's truly unstoppable. It's one of the more, especially with Son, just give him open space, not even open space, just let him run. And the man is a magician. Like how you said you would say Kevin Son would replace, or he would fit in the City perfectly.
He would.
So he has a lot of attitude, even though he likes to act like he's this cute, cuddly teddy bear. The dude is prickly as fuck, and I actually love that about him.
Yeah, he can be a little petulant, right? He can, when people are getting after him, sometimes he'll lash out. That always makes me nervous. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, they were playing Everton, and he kind of got salty and lashed back out and broke a guy's leg. And it's like, come on, son, why you got to do that? And then when they red carded him, he acted like it was this major affront to him.
And he starts crying immediately. And we're just like, bud, we saw. I feel like there was a City match that he did a kick up. But he said he was aiming for the ball, and when he got carded or even sent out for that, he was crying also. And I was just like, bro, we get it. Gabby is very similar. He'll lose the ball and he'll come flying back and just take the dude out. Not even go after the ball. And we're just
right.
Can you go after the ball at least? We get that you're angry that you lost the ball, but we had people in front of him who could have stopped it. There was no reason for you to do what you just did.
Yeah. Why you got to be that guy, right?
Yeah. And it is very frustrating.
Yeah.
Next question. Let's make me smile a little bit. What's your worst memory of Man City against your team?
Honestly, Crunk, I can't give you one. And the reason is what we've just been talking about very recently. I think my team has done remarkably well against Man City, at least during the era where I've been a Spurs fan, which is the last 5 or 6 years.
Boo this man!
That's good. I like that. That's good. I'm going to have to see what else you got. I'm going to try to give you some more opportunities.
I got a lot. I've been trying to decide if I wanted to break it out, and there are a couple things you said. I was like, all right, I got to do it.
Got to do it. I think what I like the least about playing City, let's put it that way, is for me those matches are always feels like City's on the verge of doing something. Even when City's not playing well, it always feels like the skill is there, and that your team has to play well and they have to be on their game, because if they slip up, they're going to get a foot on their throat. And that's not fun. Those games don't feel good until they're over, right? So for me, that's the worst part, is kind of the sitting through the angst of, man, I hope we hold on here. We got to lead, but boy, it feels good when it works out at the end. When Fernando Llorente takes one off the hip, in a Champions League game, right? Like that stuff feels really good when you don't see it.
It's really funny because Charlie was supposed to be here for this episode, but he wasn't feeling well, and that match that you were speaking of is literally his most traumatizing moment as a City fan. So I'm happy he isn't here, because he would have just lost it. It just would have been over for him. So I'm happy we're there.
And I'm not saying that VAR has been wrong, but VAR has been unkind to City when it comes to Spurs matches, right? Like there have been so many situations where something could have gone a different direction if it were just a referee making a call on the pitch. So that's been interesting. How about you? Let me flip that to you. What's your worst Spurs based memory beyond maybe that Fernando on the hip thing I just talked about?
Honestly, it's the whole Kane saga nonsense, because I didn't want him in the first fucking place. So
you didn't.
No, he's old. What City need to be, and obviously I'm older than him, but and we're talking sports.
Right, you're calling a 29-year-old guy old, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
City need to lower their age right now, and so him coming in, he would just be another just slapping silly putty over a hole. And I mean, it would be commercial level putty. It would be yes. For
high grade stuff.
Yes. For the 2 years that 2-3 years that we would have him, he would be fantastic. But I just want someone that, we could have grown with. And we got the guy, and we had to sit through this whole year and, potentially lose out on trophies. But, the whole world is open for us next year. So I really did that, and then honestly, I just every match against Tottenham. I just they're the team who I'm not worried about United, not worried about Chelsea. Obviously Liverpool, they're we respect them, but City have a pretty good record against them. Tottenham, they are just the people. Every time I see them, I'm just bummed, because anything is possible, because we have experienced every emotion playing Tottenham. So it's anything can happen. So really, it's just anytime we face you guys, it's fuck you guys. I'm not gonna have a good day.
That's fair. That's very fair. I will say, and maybe that's, excuse me. I appreciate you bringing up the Kane thing. A year ago, I gotta admit, I was of the mindset watching how Harry Kane handled all of that. I don't know if you recall, but
he was on both sides. He was kind of shit.
At the end of the season, he was doing interviews, making it look like he's gone. It dragged out all summer long. He ended up showing up late for camp. You know what I mean? He handled it like a scrub. And I wanted him gone. I thought, hey, you're either here or you're not. Either get in or get out. And honestly, it took a while this year for me to get over that. He started slow, as he always does. Anytime he's coming off a layoff or a time away or an injury, he needs a long run in before he gets back to being Harry Kane, which is a phenomenal, world-class, I'd argue the best striker in the world and among the best number 10s in the world, because that's just the skill of player he is. But I was pissed at him, man. Up until about Christmas time, I wasn't back on the Kane bandwagon. It was good to see him. I think Conte showing up did a lot for Harry Kane's mentality and got him refocused, and he realized, buckle down and play for your club, and you might be able to achieve the things you want to achieve, but you can't be playing these games and teasing people, but it's interesting to think, what if City had offered 150 mil last year? I bet Spurs would have sold him for that much. And so if
Yeah.
he's your striker right now, where's Holland go? You know, like there's a lot of interesting questions that are baked into that.
And the thing
be
is,
interesting to see.
I still think they would have got Holland. I just don't think we would have like gotten Julian Alvarez. Though like Holland was coming to City. Like that was going to be a thing. And the problem with Kane is I don't know how he would have handled like Holland coming in. Like,
Fair.
in theory, you would think that would be like the best thing ever for him. But you guys have never really gotten like a proper second striker, like a proper backup, and that could be me being a Packers fan. I understand that with Aaron, like
yeah, right,
like having a proper backup, that like relationship, that dichotomy, and I actually think that that's half the reason why Holland and Alvarez were brought in. Like I think Pep really wants to like make our practices intense, like so intense. Like I think because that's the only way you can really keep people focused. We've had a lot of people for multiple years who have had a lot of success, and other than like fatigue, there are moments where they weren't able to like push through that wall. And I think they need more. My word is mentality monsters. People who are like, I see this wall. We're at this wall. But fuck that wall. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
And Diaz, that he was that guy, but he was hurt a lot. So there's only so much yelling you can do on the side of the field, especially over Pep. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing the transformation that's going to come with these incoming players.
You think if City signed Kane last year, do you think they would have spent $100 million on Jackie G, or would that one have been passed over?
No, I don't think we would have went for Grealish, and I definitely think they got Grealish. They were looking at him always, but I definitely think they had the money to spend, and they needed a win because there are many things that City are trying to break through, and that whole. If we don't get the guy we want, we kind of like crumble or don't get anything and stuff like that. So they wanted to at least get something to help break through with that. And I think this season, I think that was the importance of signing Alvarez and having that be announced, and Holland being the worst kept secret, and all these rumors of all these other players that City are going for. Like I think that was very purposeful in their actions and their own media that they're pushing. Is like, we are no longer feeling guilty for our money and our success. We are now out to fucking kill. And I love that. And I am been pushing that we need to just accept that we are the quote unquote bad guys. Like, I get it, Manchester. Overall, they're nice, hardworking, industrious people. We get that. We're talking about a football team, and what City represents, like it or not, it's bad guy behavior. And so just like fucking accept it. Like, we can be nice guys, and the players are nice guys, and we all know that. But people are going to talk shit about us. They're going to like play with numbers and like make up all these scenarios and stuff like that. So just embrace it. Just like hit everyone with a so what. Like, quit arguing with everybody. That's so much waste of time and energy. We're the bad guys. We out here.
I see you puffing up, man. I see it. Don't worry. I'm not afraid. I'm good. I know. Believe me, I know. Believe me.
It's just like, I don't know. I'm just over everyone. City kicks too much ass for us to be like being pathetic, I guess.
It's funny, and not getting into like other club hatred, right? But I think
we can get into that anytime. I don't care.
Yeah, we can.
I don't care.
It's interesting. Like, and again, I don't have this issue talking to friends that I know that are supportive of Arsenal, but it's really interesting to watch English people talk Spurs Arsenal together, and like the whole like classic shut down the conversation. Well, what have you won in the last 20 years? Crunk, I don't know about you, but nobody gives a shit what I did 20 years ago, right? Like nobody cares about how cool I thought I was back then, and so let's not end a conversation over what you did a long time ago. Like, let's talk about what's going on now. You can either be good, bad, or in between. Let's just have a conversation. And it frustrates me when you see people not even able to have the dialogue because they have to scream the loudest, shut everybody down. Like, my opinion's the only opinion, and the rest of you can can go, do whatever you're going to do. It drives me crazy. I'm not okay with that part.
And also, when you start like glory hunting, then that's when I'm just like, all right, you lost this argument, bud. So
Yeah.
that's actually when I, in my brain, make a conscious decision to either back away or immediately turn into a troll and just be like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're shithousing. All right, we're shithousing, bud. So I'm going to come in here and act like I'm sincere, but I'm shithousing. And I'm just going to keep shithousing. like,
right.
I'm so awful. Yeah, shitty teams. The only team that I like really loathe is Liverpool and Chelsea. And Chelsea's really is just because just don't like them. And also they're blue, and it's just like you aren't the better blue. So it's just like
it's a different shade of blue, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys are white, so like your main color is white. Yeah, I know you have some blue in there, so
we do have some blue.
I'll let you guys do your thing.
It's a good solid navy. I'm a fan of the Spurs.
A nice strong color.
That's right. Solid.
So next question is, what is a myth, a thought, a belief, Neri of Tottenham that you would like to dispel?
We were talking the last two pods we've done on Wicked Spursy. We've talked about it, and it's the word Spursy, which I'm sure is a name or a word you've heard, right? And we chose that as our pod name because I wouldn't say we wanted to reclaim it, but we kind of wanted to sort of redefine it. Oftentimes you hear that word applied as bottlers, which, is an English term. We don't use that one much here, but we all understand what it means. Chokers, people who fail in the finals, that whole type of thing. People that won't kind of meet the mentality needs when you have to be, you talked about a mentality monster, when you've got to kind of step up and own the situation. And the reality is, I don't subscribe to that. I don't put any stake in that belief because again, I think those curses and those collective mindsets are fan based. They're not player based. They're not professional football player based. So we were talking actually just last night about like Spursiness to us is about like, it's about hope. It's about the prospect of great things, right? It's about that building something good and feeling like you're doing it the right way and making good progress. Things that in life feel good. You know what I mean? Nobody really wants to accomplish something in an underhanded way. And I'm not saying, just because people accomplish something, it's got to be underhanded, but it feels good to accomplish something the right way. And to me, that's Spursiness is kind of going about your business in a way that's gonna work and last over time. And I'm sure some people are gonna respond to that statement with some troll like behaviors. And truthfully, I don't really give a crap. It's all good with me. But I like redefining it whenever I can.
And it's so funny that you even said the trolling because I'm the complete opposite. I'm sitting here like, God damn it, is he humanizing Tottenham in my eyes right now? Is this happening?
Come on over, man.
No.
Hey, we can be your second favorite club. We have room for seconds.
No, like I said, you guys have put too much football trauma in my life for me to like truly ever really. It's one of those things when I see you guys like it's like, hey, you are so I'm like, and it could also be because of the U.S. Like you guys, Crystal Palace were like a lot of teams that were shown a lot.
Yeah,
on television.
Palace a lot, very much. Yeah. Never understood that.
And so it was one of those things. I saw Tottenham, I guess, too much to ever like to have too much like hatred towards them. And I saw the way that they played, and it was like tidy, but it was almost a little. It's too tidy. And then all like the super crisp white, all white. You do sometimes I'm like. It's too much. It stresses me out. I hate wearing white, so let alone watching dudes run around and slide on grass in white. It's just it's too much.
No, I mean you can see I'm rocking my Galaxy kit here,
yeah, it is nice.
Which I love this, but I have this personal rule: I can't buy a Spurs home kit because it's white. Like I'll get chicken wing sauce on it, or spill a beer on it. Like just not happening. So yeah, it's all away kits for me. I just don't do the home whatsoever.
Next question: elevator pitch to someone new to the Premier League. You bump into someone, they're like, hey, I want to get in the for the Premier League, why should I choose Tottenham? Because I know you're a Tottenham fan. What would you say to them?
I would say if you like bigger, faster, stronger, and the highest level of football in the world, there's only one league to pay attention to. You know, the other leagues to me are leisurely. The other leagues have fixed team or two at the top, generally speaking, and there's really nothing else down below that. And one thing I love about the Premier League this past year, especially, it's really competitive. You know, and of course, there are teams that put up big points, and in the end, when you look at the table, it maybe doesn't look as competitive as it actually was. But I kind of feel like every Premier League match, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, and you don't necessarily know when that bad team, like you said earlier, you know, when that team that's just going to sit in a low block and defend, you don't know when they're going to pull that off, and when the best team in the world is going to have a hard time breaking down an oversimplified defense, right? Like that type of stuff to me is exciting. That's what makes the league fun. This past season, the way the season finished, you know, going down to the final day and watching everything play out that way was an absolute blast. So to me, bigger, faster, stronger, best in the world. What else would you want to watch?
And then I'm sorry I terribly phrased that, I guess. Why should people choose Tottenham?
Oh,
not
yeah.
the Premier League. Yeah, why would they like the Premier League? That's of course that's great. I'm gonna leave that in though because you did sell the fuck out of the Premier League.
Man, maybe I misheard you and spoke about the wrong thing, but use that. You can go anywhere you want.
Yeah,
Why Spurs? You know, why Spurs to a neutral? I think it goes back to all the things I talked about earlier when I tried to define Spursiness to you, right? When I tried to dispel that rumor. There's always the prospect of glory, right? There's always the chance that they're going to make someone miserable that doesn't want to be made miserable by them. There's always a chance that they're going to be made miserable by a Burnley or by a Palace or by a Southampton, right? But with Spurs, there's always a chance. And every once in a while, you catch lightning in a bottle and the circumstances start to line up and the chances get better and better and you go on a run. And the other piece I would say is, you know, again, not being at all critical to teams that are historically across the past decade good, not casting any judgment. But to me, there's something, it goes back to my choice. There's something about not choosing the teams that are supposed to win, right? Like, to me, you want to choose a team that's got a shot to make something happen. And that's exactly what Spurs are. And we're in a window where I think we're going to see a little bit more and more of it. And what you're going to see is because of people like Kane, because of people like Sonny, because of some of their higher profile and globally liked players, you're going to see more kids start to hop on that bandwagon, right? Like the Spurs do a phenomenal job in Asia because of the Sun thing. Like they've got that market locked up. They're doing their preseason tour this year is a Korean-based tour because that's where Sonny's from, right? You know, they are being wise the same way United was in the 90s with trying to become a global superpower from a marketing standpoint. They're doing that same thing, and that builds some energy and some synergy to things. And if you're going to pick a squad, I think now's the time to pick Spurs. Like I said, you can come on over if you want.
No. I understand him doing that Korean preseason tour. You need to make all the money back to pay that damn stadium off. So, I mean, go where the money is. I understand why he's trying to like bring in people at the most affordable. You got to save the money where you can.
Absolutely.
And speaking of saving money, how do you feel about
Mr. Levy is quite a unique person in football.
How do you feel about Mr. Levy?
First, was that Jose? Is that the voice?
Mr. Levy is quite a unique person in football.
It took a minute to process that, man. That was coming through.
I told you I got sound clips all over the place, and I just randomly add more and more.
I like, not every Spurs fan agrees with me. I am a fan of Daniel Levy. I am a fan of what Daniel Levy has done with the club over a 20-year period of time. I am not a fan of what I often think are actual anti-Semitic affronts that get thrown at him. He has called words that are dog whistles for anti-Semitism. You know, he's called shrewd. He's called clever. All these things are used to describe the way he approaches his business. In reality, if you look at the long game, look at the Spurs that Enoch took over 20 years ago and look at where they are now. It is a world apart. And that's because incremental business has been done in a way that is making that club sustainable and built for the long term. You mentioned the stadium. I mean, obviously none of us anticipated COVID, right? And that was a big hit to finish a stadium and then boom, shut it down. And all that revenue is gone. But that's recovering. You know, you're seeing that this summer. You're seeing Spurs spending money, and you're seeing the ownership group willing to spend money because the revenue is coming in, because they have the revenue generating options out there to start to become a big club. I don't think Spurs are a big club yet. I don't think they'll be that until they have world-class players too deep in every position. That's kind of my rule of thumb. But when it comes to business practices, when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to the long game, Spurs are a big club. I think they're a club that can and should be emulated, because that model they followed, although it's upset some people along the way, that can be replicated in other places. It's just about making the right moves and doing things the right way. So maybe a contrary opinion, but that's mine.
No, and it's one of those things when Leicester and all these other teams, they get players at affordable prices. They're like cheered. And, when a supposed top 4, top 6 team does something like that, then you're just like, why are they like that? And it's just like, no, bro, like, we got here for a reason, and that's like saving the money where we can. I guess that's kind of a good thing of being an American fan. Like, also, like, I guess I don't know or didn't care enough to find out that he was Jewish. Like, I just see the moves that they make, and he makes just like financially conscious. Like, even like the Harry Kane thing, where he was just like, he didn't want to get rid of Harry Kane. Like, plain simple. He didn't, because like, how are you going to replace like this shit?
Why would you?
And all that other stuff. Yeah. So he was like, all right, $100 million. Oh, you guys will pay that? Okay, $125 million. Oh, you guys will still pay that shit?
Yeah.
50 then. No, you won't pay that? Hey. Okay, then 150. That's his price. Take it or leave it. And so it's like, I get it. Like, it's just how the game is sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? That stadium, there have been rumors that they're close to a naming rights agreement, but those rumors have been out there for 2 or 3 years. That's going to be a couple hundred, 300 million when that lands. There's revenue to be made as a result of the business decisions that have been made along the way, and I think it's good. I like it.
All right. Next question is, who is your favorite player from Tottenham of all time?
Yeah, so a little bit of maybe a surprise or maybe an unexpected answer here. My favorite player, I don't know if anybody knows this because I've never verbalized this way, is Danny Rose, if you know who Danny Rose is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when Kyle Walker was with Spurs, Danny was on that other side on the left. And what I love about Danny Rose is he had a cool attitude. And I don't mean that was always a great attitude, but he had a cool attitude. He was skillful. And as his career was slipping away from him, which it clearly has across the past few years, in fact, I don't even know if he's still with Watford. I think he started the year there, but I want to say maybe they released him. But what I loved about Danny Rose is he was open about some of the mental health dynamics that he faced, and as an athlete, as a black athlete, as a high profile person, to talk about that is a big deal, and that's important. And I was impressed and proud of that. I also loved how Danny Rose, I don't know if you watched the Amazon documentary on Spurs. You probably didn't, but one of the pieces of that was cool, although I did watch the City one. I'm just throwing that out there. One of the pieces that was cool was Danny Rose went into Mourinho's office and told him what he thought. And then when Mourinho was being a prick to him, he's like, well, I'm going to talk to Daniel. Danny Rose, even though it was probably the wrong move to make and probably sealed his fate with Spurs, he wasn't backing down. He did his thing. And the final thing, I don't know how publicized this was, but in his final few months of Spurs, they clearly were done with him. He wasn't even seeing the practice field. And they sent him down to work out with the U23s. And he hung out with the kids and mentored the kids and put time in out of the public eye, didn't get any attention for it, but like actually put time in, like coaching these young guys while he was playing alongside him. And I've seen some video clips of like him showing up later on to their U23 and U18 matches and just kind of the relationships over there. That's cool. Like that was impressive. And that was something I was proud to see. So Danny Rose, favorite Spurs player.
And of course, I watched that Tottenham season. Jose, are you serious? Jose,
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited for this Arsenal season. I cannot wait. It's a great show. I've watched like all those like style of sports documentaries. I'm like a sucker for. I've watched all like the teams and like even the Juventus one, and it was all in Italian, and like I don't care. Like I love sports dynamics. That's kind of like for some reason I feel like I'm like synced in it. A lot of the things on the pod, like I'll be like, I was the first one on. I need to find that clip, but I was like, I think we're gonna have a huge overhaul. Like we need to bring in like 3, 4, 5, 6 players because we're gonna be losing some shit people, and they were just like, Royce, you need to relax. And look where we are now. And it's just like they're just things that have to happen in teams in order for things to grow. And it's like if these things aren't happening, then bad things start happening. And City were stagnant, like obviously through the season. Like, yes, we got the Premier League and that's the best thing, but there was a point where we were looking at the quadruple. And I know the injuries and all that stuff added up, but it's like I feel we fell flat on our faces when it comes to like the quadruple. We ended the season amazing, like very strong, and I love the team, but like overall, like we did kind of fall on our faces, and we'd have to pick ourselves up and like look around and make sure no one saw us fall down and like brush ourselves off and like start running again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Which of those are the quadruple? Which one would you give up? Say, yeah, treble's fine. Which one do you not care about? Is it FA? Is it Carabao? What is it?
Probably the FA, just because we had the Carabao for so many years in a row. It's like low-key became like our trophy, even though, and also I'm an American, so like I don't have that tie to the FA Cup that the English do. So
that's fair.
Yeah. And playing in the Emirates, like that's fun, but it's like so.
Well, it won't surprise you. I'd take any one of them, but that's a whole different story.
So the next part of this episode is overview of the season that just passed. So going into the Premier League season as a Tottenham fan, how are you feeling?
Horrible, right? It felt absolutely horrible. If you went back to last August when that season was starting, we barely had a coach. Like it was, I think, 2 weeks before the season started that Nuno was named, and to me the best thing about Nuno was I kind of looked like the white version of him, like very little hair, right? But that was about it, right? Like I think he kind of looked like me. But the football was terrible. But at the same time, like we had this first month that went remarkably well. We beat City the first match, and I think we won 3 in a row to start things off, and like. It was this misleading, positive start that then just fell off the rails. And so I mentioned earlier, Kane was a no-show, a literal no-show for a period of time. The guys were still confused in the post-Mourinho era. It was rough. We were broken. It was not exciting time. And then in November, Antonio Conte comes on board, right? Like,
Very big pickup.
A huge pickup, but that also comes with a lot of questions. Conte has all that reputation of coming in and demanding what he wants, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to walk, which is entirely his right. But there were so many questions about, well, if you think about Daniel Levy and how he has managed the team, from an ownership standpoint in the past, will he actually give Conte what he wants? Is the track record there that's going to happen? And those questions persisted. Conte was always coy about, whether or not he'd be around for another year. He signed an 18-month deal. I don't know if you knew that, to finish out this year and for another year. And he was always like, I have a contract through next year, and would never say anything beyond that. And he would just talk about how things were going to go. But, one thing that we know about Conte ball is he needs wing backs who can play defense and be attacking wingers. and it takes the right kind of guys to do that. And at first, our guys were not making that happen, but they hadn't been asked to do that. They'd been asked to be fullbacks before. They hadn't been asked to engage in the way he was asking them to engage. As the season progressed, we started to see people like Matt Doherty, who had been written off as done, start to show why he always was good as a winger or as a wing back with Wolves. And then he got injured, unfortunately. We saw Emerson Royal, who was picked up, during the end of the summer and really kind of struggled through the year, but started to come into his own a little bit. Like, he started to see these guys, even Ryan Sessegnon, a young guy who from Fulham, and we picked him up a few years ago. He's had an injury history, but he's talented. He's fast. He's exciting to watch. I love the kid. Started when he could get a run of games, started to show some form and some excitement. And so you started to see Conte ball taking place from January, progressing through the spring. And by the time we got to the end of the year, things for Spurs were really clicking. We had some tough bumps. We had losses to teams we shouldn't lose to. We had draws to teams we shouldn't draw to. And then we'd beat teams we probably shouldn't have beaten, right? Like classic Spursiness, if you will. But there was always that hope. There was always the prospect of, hey, we might just be making progress. And if you would have asked anyone in the world if Spurs would have finished fourth in November when Conte came in, very few people would have predicted that could be the case. But a combination of our guys clicking on all cylinders, Kane's son Kulusevski stepping up, midfield of Højbjerg and Bentancur really, really coming together. A back three as opposed to a back four, which we had traditionally had been playing across the past 5-6 years, but a back three of Romero, who is a stud, Dyer, who's really, really stepped up in the center, and Ben Davies, who's a Welsh guy who was an average left cornerback or left back and is a really good left-sided central defender in a three. Like, they really, really came together and made things happen. Throw in a little Arsenal just blowing it because they suck. A few things going our way, and guess what? Champions League this next year, and Spurs may make some noise and may make something happen, and that's the excitement that I'm thinking about as I look ahead. Did I just go into maybe the next question, or did I screw that up? There.
I mean, you can. The next question is, what was your favorite moment of this season?
Yeah, favorite moment probably was the game. He's a player who wants out and deserves to be out because he's not getting enough playing time. But Leicester City away, Steven Bergwijn, 3 goals in extra time, in like 2.5 minutes, something like that. It was just fun and exciting to watch. I was watching that match. I don't know about you, but usually during the match with my Spurs guys, like we're on WhatsApp just talking smack the entire game back and forth to each other, just breaking things down, right? And throughout that match, we didn't deserve to win, and I was really bothered because my guys were all like, "Yeah, we're in this, we're doing it." And I thought, we suck. This game is not ours. We're not going to win this. We don't deserve it in the least. And then, like, in this 3-minute segment of time, these crazy things happen, and people are running around, jumping on people. You're seeing Lucas Moura like jumping on the security. Like just crazy stuff going on. But that was such a quick turn of fortune, I guess is how I would put it. That was fun, exciting, good memorable moment overall.
Bergwijn and Lucas Moura, those dudes, when they come on, they're just like a firecracker. Like, they just like instant energy, instant attack. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, I know the term super sub isn't really appreciated by a lot of players, but like that's kind of it for them, especially at least where they are. I'm sure they could go to a team and be like starters and be the man, but if they want to be at like a top team, that's what they should be, and just embrace that. Like, just come in like the 65th minute and just wreck shit.
It's interesting you say that because, so Lucas Moura obviously has a place in Spurs fans' hearts because of Ajax in 2019, right? What he did there, like that's just one of those things that's imprinted on your mind. But he has a lot of negative qualities as a player, right? Like he's incredibly fast. He is Spurs through and through. He's excitable, but he's that guy who will always dribble into traffic and lose the ball, and you know it's going to happen, right? So that's frustrating. At the same time, he always seems to gain the trust of his managers. Every single manager he's had puts him on the pitch, oftentimes as a starter. Over time, what you saw with Conte is eventually other guys caught up, and especially when Kulusevski came in, like there was no place for Lucas to start. But I really think that's Lucas's sweet spot, right? Like you said, he is super fast. So when you bring him in at 70, 75 minutes and everybody else is tired, like he's flying. And so he's less likely to make those errors that are going to turn the ball over in traffic, and he's going to wreak havoc. The problem with Bergwijn is in the same way that Lucas is content being that bench guy and coming off, Bergwijn doesn't want to be that. He wants to be a starter, and everybody's got that right. You can want that, and there's a place for you. The rumors are back to Holland and to Ajax for Bergwijn. We'll see. But he's been like outspoken, like I'm out. I don't want to be here. I want more playing time. I'm a star. I play for my national team, and I'm a superstar. I shouldn't be sitting the bench. So the mentality difference between those guys is really, really interesting to see. And again, to compliment City, one thing that has always impressed me is you have guys sitting on the bench who are world-class and could start for most any team in the world, but they appear to have wrapped their heads around what that role is, and that sometimes it's your time to not start, and you'll come on later and make your impact. And that's really, really important.
I think so. That was actually a thing Pep, I felt like, had to establish on the team, though, because I felt I do. At the beginning of his tenure, there were times where like he would sit players, like famously Aguero. He sat Aguero, and because it really is, it's like my way or the highway. Like I am bigger than you guys. Like you might not think that, but I am. And he comes in and he just like shuts things down. And now when he like his whole thing with Sterling and Gabby and Bernardo and Zhao, like there have been a lot of like clashes that he's had, but in the end he usually wins them. I mean, we have Sane, but the ones that he loses, we send the people off and then they lose the light that they had. Like Sane, famous, like I don't know where he is right now. Like I know where he is, but he's like he seems like lost. Like
he's with Bayern, right?
Yeah, he's at Bayern, and he still plays on the German team, but like he's a shell of who he was. Like he's not dynamic. He's not making assists. He's not scoring. Like it's just sad. It's really sad, especially because we wanted to keep him and let him grow, but he thought he was the man. He wanted to go to Bayern and be loved by all of Germany and be like that young star. And he might be that in Germany. I don't know. I don't pay much to the Bundesliga like that. But he definitely hasn't hit the heights that I kind of expected him to do when he went to Bayern, because a lot of the stresses should be behind him now, because now he's home and with family and at a team who like loves him and adores him and is paying him very well. So it's just like, just go out there and ball.
But that raises an interesting question, right? Like there's the question of, did Pep break him, or was he broken and did Pep see it? And I would tend to be inclined towards the latter. Like, there's probably something that he saw, like it's just not there, and made what needed to happen, even though it doesn't make any sense to anybody in the moment. Guys like him, guys like Conte, guys like, Jurgen, they're the best in the world for a reason, right? They know players, and they know when they've got it and they know when they don't. You and I can critique strategy all we want, but we're a couple schmucks from the Midwest who, just learn this as we go, right?
So next question, which you might be able to like get politically answer your way out of this shit too. What was the worst moment of the season last year?
Have I been giving you political answers? Is that what you've been hearing?
No. When I was like, what's the Man City? What's the worst Man City memory? And you managed to get out of that beautifully.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate the props. Worst memory of this past year. It would be it would be the tail end of the Nuno era on the whole, right? Because that felt before you knew Conte was coming in and you knew that Nuno wasn't working out, and everybody knew that was the wrong hire from the beginning, but it's like you're stuck with this guy. That's not a good feeling, because of course you love your team. You want to see things go well. You see players who you really like and their talent level, but they appear to be broken. But it just doesn't make sense and doesn't add up. Like that feeling, kind of despondent, kind of definitely challenging and certainly not fun. There are matches that would be like individual examples of that for sure. But I guess I want to focus more on just the general feeling of like something that wasn't going the way that it really, really should because of the circumstances.
And Nuno losing his spot at Wolves and ending up at Tottenham, him failing up was very weird.
Right.
But as a fellow brown person, I have to fucking respect that,
Fair.
That's breaking barriers. That's like white people shit. Like, it's very impressive.
No, you're spot on with that, man. I cannot dispute that one bit. But yeah, it was weird, right? Like he did fail up from a coaching standpoint, but yeah, I loved seeing him have the opportunity, and he came in saying all the right things. Like he made an effort to connect with fans in the beginning, but then the football started, and then it all fell apart, and that was the challenge.
And I think we can obviously speculate all you want, but I think one of the reasons why he failed is the teams that he works well with are kind of like the grinder teams. And like, yes, you guys are a grinder, but there's like an elegance to the way that you guys grind. And he kind of is just like survive by any ways possible. Like Unai Emery is very similar. Like he changes the tactics per match because some games he really just has to survive. Like what he did with Villarreal this year. Like some of those matches literally was just like, let's just sit back for the 85 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes, let's give them hell and somehow find a fucking goal. And that works with teams who have that grit within them, who have those people on that team who have chips on their shoulders. When there are players who like Harry Kane, he's like, no, I'm the fucking shit. I got this. Son, he's literally a god in his area. Like, you need someone to kind of come in there and kind of like smack them around and be like, hey, this is what you guys need to do. You guys are being a little too posh. Like, let's figure this shit out. And Conte, he's the right guy for that.
Absolutely. And we had the players to do that. We didn't have all of them, but we had the players, but they just didn't have the mentality. And they hadn't been coached in that way in a long time. So it took some time to recover. But by the end of the season, you saw a team that's going to make some noise next year.
Okay, so season, it's over. We are where we are. Looking back at it, if it was betting, did the Spurs did they hit over? Did they hit under? Or did they push? Did they like expectations wise?
Yeah. So my expectations at the start of the season, I was just picking a European spot. I thought they'd finish somewhere 4th through 7th. Which you could call that a pretty weak call, right? Like that's kind of hedging your bets, especially when you look at 8 and below who's there. But I was pleasantly surprised. I think Spurs slightly overachieved. I think Spurs this year probably should have been a Europa League team, but things worked out differently, and I suspect we're going to start to talk about transfers and offseason a little bit. I think that is leading towards a good Champions League run next year. We'll see where it goes.
And I agree with you. I think the moves they're making, they are sitting pretty to do some trouble. And the reason why I placed Tottenham second in my rankings, it's, again, more team dynamics. It's Liverpool, whatever's going on with this whole, like, Mane, Nunez, like all this nonsense, it's going to affect the locker room.
It is.
Like, we haven't even gotten to Salah yet. We still have to handle like all the Salah nonsense that's going to be happening this season.
Yeah, you're right.
Chelsea and their owners, that nonsense. I don't think they're going to get the financial support that they think that they're going to get. United, they're still trying to figure some stuff out. Arsenal still trying to figure some stuff out. So it's like, who are the people who are in the best situation to succeed? And manager wise, that means a big thing. And I always say, I guess I give it more credit to your manager than to your team. And also, as a U.S. fan, I don't really like that Spursiness. I don't really see that as trouble. Like, I don't like, no, like they have to break through it. Like City, there were a lot of things, and so something very similar, like not shooting our own selves in our foot. Like City had to break through that, and I think City did that, and like we still have our own hump and like breaking through the Champions League final. Like we're getting to the finals, we're getting to the semis. It was step by step. First we got in the Champions League, then we got to the quarterfinals, and then we got to the semis, and we were stuck in the semis. We were stuck in the quarterfinals for a while, and now we're just like stuck at the finals, and that's a good problem to have because there are so many teams who would give their kidneys to just like touch knockout football in the Champions League.
Absolutely. You got that right.
All right, so off season. Or what were you gonna say?
No, you're just making me think with your comment about breaking through. Like, if you're not going to break through with a manager like Pep, or you're not going to break through with a manager like Conte, you're not going to break through, right?
Facts.
Like that's facts. So I think it's a really interesting point. And when you look at the next year, I like that second place prediction. I'm with you on Liverpool.
I bet you do.
I do. But let's be honest, first through fourth. Well, first is what it is, and to win the Premier League is a big deal. But the other three, it's the same outcome, right? And I'm not minimizing second place over fourth, but would certainly take that. There's something in the water at Liverpool that doesn't smell right, and I'm okay with that. But it's going to be interesting to see that play. And I would love to see Spurs just in an opportunistic moment, not wishing ill on your team, but I'd love to see Spurs positioned where if like something happened with City from an injury standpoint or just from a vibe standpoint where they're ready to pounce, like that'd be fun. That'd make for an exciting season overall. I do anticipate
hating again.
I do anticipate Chelsea. All the stuff there's a lot there. Right. There's a lot. That's a whole separate podcast to talk about what's going on there. But I see
tomorrow I'm recording with a Chelsea fan, so I'm actually very excited.
I see, there's no way that can't affect them. And Tuchel's an amazing manager, but there's no way that can't affect their players and affect their strategy moving forward in terms of how they construct their team. They kind of persevered through it this spring, but I see some struggles on the horizon for them. So I'm with your second place prediction. I like it.
Off-season moves. So you don't even have to you probably have names that are moving in the rumor mill, but moves that haven't been made. What are you expecting? What are you hopeful for? Or at least like positional moves that you feel your team needs to make.
Yeah. Well, first I want to tell you I hate ITK. Like that stuff drives me crazy, and it drives me crazy because it's such nonsense. And like, how many times will I be flipping through Twitter and you read one report about what's going to happen according to one guy, and then the next thing I look at is a contrary report or a twist on the report I just read. It's like, all right, and until I see them holding the shirt up, like actually holding the shirt up, not the Photoshop version of it, We'll not get too excited about it, but truthfully, bringing over Perisic, who's a 2-footed left wing back from Inter. He's skilled. He's old. He's 33, but he's a beast, and he's going to be really good to support Ryan Sessegnon and have a nice pair on the left side. We brought in a backup goalkeeper who's also old, Fraser Forster from Southampton. I actually like that play. I was talking with my Wicked Spursy guys last night about this. We were lamenting, like, should we be bringing in a younger keeper so that he can be mentored under Hugo Lloris and kind of be the next great thing? And my take on that is, yeah, but if Hugo goes down, you want somebody Premier League ready to get in between those sticks. And I'd take somebody like Forster, who knows what he's doing. Buy a keeper later. Go after somebody who's got the skills and spend the money later on. Today, rumors broke about Basuma from Brighton, who's a stupid talent.
Yes.
At the same time, there's some potential baggage, hanging with him. And it's like, all right, how do you even – I'm not even going to really wade into that until we see how some of that shakes out. Jed Spence, who is a talented wingback as well, played for Nottingham Forest this past year, got promotion, but he's a Middlesbrough guy. That's rumored to be close to the finish line. That'll be really exciting. If I'm going further, we need another defender, another central defender for sure. We need a backup striker. Spurs have traditionally struggled with this. We've got some talented kids, but they're kids that need loans. Troy Parrott needs another loan. Dane Scarlett is a superstar in the making, but he's 18. He needs another loan, right? We need another, not to go back to this guy, but you need another Fernando Llorente, who is a veteran guy who's content to be on the bench and willing to go get that time on the pitch when Kane needs a spell. But we don't have that guy, and we've struggled with that. So that'll be interesting. So, yeah, striker, could use another winger, another central defender. We're shoring up the midfield. We're starting to build that team that has real quality, too deep in every position. And when we get to that, I'll be very, very happy.
I agree about I got killed on Twitter because I was like, it's all rumors until I see that photo with Ferran Soriano. It's all rumors.
Absolutely.
I don't care what the players say. Until it happens, it's all rumors. And the person's just, people are just laughing. But these people are said to say that, hey, as City fans, how many times have we had the okie doke?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. I'm not being ridiculous.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
So
it drives me crazy. So many people passionately live with that stuff. And you and I both know that's about clicks and that's about putting money in somebody's pockets other than mine.
Yeah.
So I choose not to contribute if I don't have to. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. Is it fun to banter with? Sure. When things first get announced, I'll give my take on it. But we're on day 22 of Calvin Phillips to City. Is he going to or is he not?
Right.
Varela, stuff like that. I don't care. It's why we really haven't done a transfer pod episode, because all we have technically is Holland. Technically. Right. So it's you just want to talk about rumors, and we technically already have talked about all of these transfer rumors. We've done it our last 4 pods. We did it weeks before everything started because we knew that this was kind of what was going to happen. So it's kind of nice to talk about the build-up before it gets to the shit show that it is now. So when something, hopefully by Monday, it's funny, I'm going to cut this part out because this episode, just because of the fact that this episode isn't going to drop for weeks, because this is the 6th, 7th one that I've done already, and so
you've been stacking them up, haven't you?
Yes, and so we're trying to drop an episode every 4 days, basically.
Okay, yeah.
So we just stay in people's memories. Our social media stays in people's memories, and it's helping all of our previous episodes. Every single time a new episode drops, the next previous 3 episodes get bumps, and so that's all we're trying to work on, is just getting that content out there. So if we do take a break, people are jonesing for us, we're heroin. So that's kind of
very good. Very, very good. Yeah.
Final question of the episode.
All right.
You get everyone you could ever want. Every position that you would like to get covered is covered. How do Tottenham fare throughout the season? The end of the year, where do you see Tottenham placed?
So there's checkpoints in the season, right? So I'm thinking about the cup competitions, managing Europe and the Premier League. Also, what's on my mind with that question is, Conte is notoriously not that great at managing the midweek competition. So there's something interesting to that. If you really wanted to dig in on Spurs, you could look at their marked increase in productivity and improvement aligned with when they got unceremoniously booted out of the Europa Conference League because of like crazy COVID shenanigans because of the other team not being available and all that, right? And so all of a sudden when Conte had a whole week to prepare, like we were coming out and making noise, right? So we all know there's a real challenge to multiple 2-3 matches a week, and that's something that I am interested in watching. So with that, I would predict we might not fare that great in the Carabao and the FA, and I'd be okay with that. I would love to see us make some noise and go really deep in Champions League, and I think the team already has the talent to potentially do it. This team is more talented than the team was in 2019 that made the final. There's definitely more skill there, and I think a better system. I think the Premier League is the toughest one. You know, that's a fight, and it's a long fight, and there's a lot of big dogs at the top, you know, ready to go. So I think we'll be top 3 in the league. I feel pretty solidly about that. I'd love to see us make it to the semis, at least in Champions League. And, you know, we'll probably crash out of some cup competitions early, maybe to save a little bit of time. That's kind of my early prediction. Oh, why'd I get applause on that? Could you like that answer, or that's just you getting me out of here? What is that? Oh, you're muted though.
No, that was me. Congratulating you. I mean, you're saying a good job. I'm trying to now be nice and connect and follow people because when the season starts, I turn into an asshole. So it's like I'm trying to get all the brownie points I can now. So when the season starts, and we end up having to face Tottenham, and I say just some awful shit about Tottenham, you're just like, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, but I remember Dave. I like that guy. He was good.
Yeah. No, I'm saying you guys, like, if you guys ever see my tweet pop up and if we're playing and you see me saying not positive things about your team, you won't be angry at me. Well, at least not so angry at me because you're like, hey, we had a nice pod episode once. So
no, we're buds now, man. It's all good.
Yes. Well, I love it. This is the part where you plug yourself, plug your pod. Go ahead and let people know where to listen to your podcast and where to find you guys on social media.
Yeah, thanks, man. So, once again, so I won't plug myself that much, but our pod is called Wicked Spursy. On Twitter, we're at Wicked Spursy, and we tend to publish about once a week during the season. Usually on a Monday night or Tuesday night, we'll get the pod out. I would encourage anybody listening to Shades of Blue, give us a listen. We have even though you're not Spurs fans, I get it, but I'll tell you what, I've listened to Crunk and his guys a few times now, and it's fun, and it actually feels very familiar. Like we start out just talking about ourselves, like checking in, what's going on, how you been, what's up with the family, and then we get into talking about the football club we love, and then we kind of rip into each other a little bit and just have fun together. So if you want to give us a listen and a shout, we appreciate it at Wicked Spursy. And yeah, Crunk, it's been fantastic to be here, man. I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's been a complete pleasure, and it's been nice. We just recently dropped our United episode, and he's a friend of mine, but he is obnoxious. And so I just laughed the entire time. Like, there were moments I had to cut my laughs out because he's just so ridiculous. You can't get angry with him because then he's just like, oh, I got you, motherfucker. Now let's pour some gasoline on that.
Right.
I felt he kept making fun of how short City are, and he got me. I bit into it, and so ever since then he just kept poking at how short our team was, and I'm like,
yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, we know. Why are you doing this? It's because he saw a weakness in my eye. He saw that glint, and he was like, all right, there's that button. I can just push the fuck out of it.
Did you talk about Harry Maguire and his giant head? Did you go there, or what'd you do?
I kept it pretty nice. I just wanted to
Impressive.
let him talk it. Well, because he's kind of hard on. He was hard on the team. He doesn't mind Harry Maguire, but he also thinks Harry Maguire is a number 2. He doesn't think Harry Maguire is like the man. He needs someone solid there to like yell at him when he's fucking up, which is often.
Fair. Yeah, I get it.
But appreciate you. Hold on. Here's that. All right, so that was try one more time. And that was what am I trying to say? And
Represent.
we are at the end of Represents with Dave, man. You guys know the vibes. Follow us on the social media, Shades of Blue Pod on Twitter. We have a YouTube, we have a Twitch. Subscribe to those things. Share our stuff. Use the hashtag Shady Gang to let us know your family. You know the vibes. Shady Gang, Shady Gang, Shady Gang.